I'm Jeremiah Boucher, a commercial real estate investor with over 20 years experience. This show is designed to help you build your business, become a better real estate investor, and help you see opportunities that will keep you ahead of the competition. This is Finding Your Edge. Hey guys, Jeremiah Boucher here, Finding Your Edge podcast. I want to apologize first and foremost. I have not put my heart and soul into this. My focus is 10 to 20 minutes of giving you everything I got, what I've learned in real estate investing, what I've learned about life, and I want it to be actionable, practical, so you use it, listen to it, and it adds value to your life. So I'm going to put the time and energy into doing that. And that's my commitment to you. So let's jump into it. This episode is on seasons and cycles. We all go through seasons and cycles with life, with investing, with relationships. And there's this part of the season where there's just not a lot of results, right? The plateau. And when you hit that plateau, what the heck do you do? Because you're doing the work, and 90% of people, what do? They just fall away. They stop doing it. Like when I started trying to learn piano, I did it for maybe a month and I quit. Or when I learned Spanish and I quit. Or when I wanted to write poetry or write another book, I quit in the beginning. This is what most people do. So if it's with exercise, your diet, with sales calls, with presentations, anything that you have to do consistently, most people don't show up day in and day out. And there's this cycle. We all hit this season. So Mike Tyson said a quote. He said, consistency will outwork determination any day of the week, or something like that. But basically, if you keep showing up and you keep the consistency in your life and your training and whatever the thing that you're doing over and over, you'll far surpass any determination, any inspiration, any motivation. None of that shit matters. It's all about consistency. I remember listening to Alex Hormozi. He said, if you do something 8 hours a day, 5 days a week for 10 years, you have to force yourself to suck. Like, you cannot suck at something if you do tens of thousands of reps. And our mind naturally hates plateauing. We're going to look for that next dopamine hit, the next shiny object, the next fun thing. And that's where we lose all our momentum. And this is where I want to tie it back to investing. Right now, not a lot of deals are getting done in the marketplace. And the deals that are out there, they're marginal or they're just overpriced. So we've been working the last year and a half, and it's been a grind, right? We did 6 transactions last year. We did 30 the year before. There's just nothing going on right now, not at scale. So how do you stay motivated? How do you actually make progress when you're not getting the results? As an investor, as a business owner, in a career, as a professional, we all hit this point. And in the beginning of my career, I did this, where I focused on mobile home park investing. I had some success at it. I was a small owner in my partnership. I was making some fees by finding some good acquisitions. And then it kind of fizzled out. The market got soft. It was 2009, 10, 11. It was getting real tough out there. And I bounced to other types of commercial property. I bought a small retail building. I ended up buying a gas station with a buddy, and it was a huge waste of time. I opened up a small deli and wine shop with a gaming license with that partner, and it was a huge waste of time. And I lost all that momentum in the core focus that I originally started at. And I'm sure if you think about your life, where did you get some momentum? It got tough. And when it got tough, you bounced to something else. And then you look back and you're like, damn, I should have just stuck with the thing I originally started with. I'd be so much farther along. And especially when you can see someone else that stuck with it and you did it, you really beat yourself up because you realize you had all that potential and you actually didn't apply yourself. You went to some other shiny object, and that's going to kill your momentum every time. And that's exactly what happens with investing. The mind loves to play tricks. It's just going to want to find something else. So when I started out at the very beginning of my career as a salesman, I was a door-to-door ADT salesman. I had to knock doors, see if people wanted to buy a security system, get rejected 50, 100 times a day. It was horrible. I'm getting dogs barking at me, people yelling at me. I was doing it in the ghetto. And then I became a realtor. I started door knocking, asking if people were looking to sell their home, wanted to buy a home. And then I ended up doing it in my investment career, where I cold call over and over and over. What I did, it was super simple. I set a scorecard, a daily metric, where I had to make at least 100 phone calls a day, at least, a lot of times 200. And then I knew that day I won the day or I didn't win the day. And even if I didn't get a sale, I knew if I made those phone calls and I talked to 30, 40, 50 people and I marked them off my list, and then I focused on the ones that I knew were going to retire or their property needed a lot of work and there was potential there, like I looked at as a win. And that was me having some clear focus and a consistency that I could go to every day. I didn't have to think about it. So what I realized is the real players in business, the great investors out there too, they measure everything. They're fanatics, right? What you measure gets managed. That's what Peter Drucker, the business guru, said. And this is what every major company that's successful does. They have a scorecard that they measure the key drivers of their business and they focus on them fanatically. And I learned throughout my career, when I measure something, I actually make progress or I don't. And I know what's going on. If I don't measure it, I don't know. And it's really simple. I do this in my health as well. So I wear my Whoop tracker. My girlfriend wears the Oura ring. And we know, did you work out today? Did you not work out today? Are you applying the strain where I'm going to burn the calories? And then am I getting the rest? Am I going to bed? Am I getting the recovery? And I can see it. And it's very clear. And I can't make a story up in my mind that, yeah, I kind of did some exercise. I either burned the calories or I didn't. I either got the rest or I didn't. And it's right there in front of me, measuring it. It's a great, great tool to hold us accountable, right? To set goals. When you set goals, so many people, New Year's Eve, they set a resolution and then they don't measure shit. And then in the first month, they forgot about it. And then they say, I got some tough breaks. I didn't achieve my goal. I didn't succeed. But really, you didn't define the things you needed to do every single day and then measure it to hold yourself accountable to get it done. Super simple. We all know this, but in investing and in business, in our daily habits, with our health, with our relationships, you got to show up. And if you measure it and hold yourself accountable, you make progress or you don't. And when you don't, there's no victim. No one else you can't blame anyone that you weren't successful because you have to look yourself in the face and say, I did what I said I was going to do or I didn't. So how does this apply back to real estate? Well, there's 6 key steps. You look at a lot of properties. You prospect them. You follow up on them. You evaluate them. You make an offer, a letter of intent. You negotiate it. And then you close the deal. That's it. And you do this over and over and over. I've done this for 20 years, and every investor does this. They look at a lot of deals. They know exactly where they can make money in their narrow niche. They go real narrow and super deep. And they know every in and out of the asset class, of the investment. And then they go and they do it consistently. And that's where it gets boring. And if it gets boring, most people give up. And if we don't get the material success like we're supposed to get, then we say, it doesn't work, and we bounce to some other strategy. Instead, in real estate, we have a defined plan. We know exactly what we're going after. And then if we stick with it, even if we don't get the wins, I've learned that you learn about good markets. You learn what you want to buy, what you don't want to buy. You start to narrow down the prospect list. You evaluate it super quickly, the assets. You start learning trends. Are rents higher here? Demographics better here? Do I get good vendors over here? The cost of construction here? Every day you show up and do the job you're supposed to do, evaluating property, making offers, building relationships, operating, you start to compound those results over and over and over. And this goes for anything in life. And the thing is, if you don't stick with it, it's typically your emotions, it's your thoughts, right? We can't control our first thought, but we can control the thought after the thought. And we can decide, do we want to keep thinking it or do we not? And those emotions pop up. I'm frustrated. I'm angry. I had a bad night with my partner and we got in a big fight, or I stayed up too late and I don't feel like doing it, or I'm not going to focus on this because, my kid's sick. And that's okay. Like, there's going to be things that happen. We all know this. And I used to be an all or nothing guy where if I can't stick to the plan, fuck it, then I just go do something else, or I get all down on myself. But as I got older, I realized just come back to it again and again and again, and do the things that need to be done. So as an investor, you got to be looking at the properties. You got to be making the offers. We got to make the presentations and the pitches. We got to do the analysis. We got to look at our reports. We got to hammer on the collection calls. This is what we're scorecarding. Scorecards are the key. Man, I cannot emphasize it enough. I just finished my EOS management meeting with my leaders, and we evaluated last year's performance, and we were about 10% of our goals. It wasn't great. The market was down. We shifted. I'm not saying we had to go buy, but scorecarding. I realized we didn't hit some of our metrics. We weren't on top of it. I was measuring too far behind my sales guys. We weren't getting out the offers. We weren't doing the evaluations the way we should have, to the scale that we should have. And now that I'm doing that, I can see exactly who's performing and who's not. And that's where I realized this is what a true professional is. I read a great book called The War of Art by Stephen Pressfield, and he talks about a professional shows up every day if they want to or they don't. He talks about a lot of writers and artists and directors and creatives, and these people, the reason they're successful, I mean, yes, they're talented, but some of them, there's a lot of talented people. Some aren't that talented, but they have a routine and consistency. And even when your mind is raging and it wants to go do something else, they still show up. And an amateur doesn't. An amateur does it when he feels like it. A professional shows up no matter what he feels like. And that's eliminating the victim mentality, because no one else determines what you do but you. And for myself, when I've given up on myself in certain areas of my life, it wasn't anyone else's fault. I did not measure up to what I had to do consistently. And I finally started to learn, if I measure specific things, the handful of things that need to be done to drive the business, especially in real estate investing, if I don't show up and do my job and run that sales team and run the different departments scorecarding it, then we won't win. And that's taking responsibility. This is accountability. This is part of our culture. It's what I learned. This is what the New England Patriots taught me through their culture with the good old all-time GOAT coach, Bill Belichick. It's do your job. You show up day in, day out. We measure it. Nobody has a cushy position. You're always fighting for your spot, and you have to hit your numbers. And that's how you perform. And that's how everybody wins. And if you keep cutting corners, you don't show up, you don't get the reps in, don't get the consistency, it's just not going to work over the long haul. Business and investing is way too competitive. So then I started to look at it in a way where it's me versus me. I know what I need to do. You know what you need to do to get the job done. And then you either show up and you hit your metric, you hit your daily tasks, or you don't. And that's integrity. Because when you start to rack up the days of doing the things you're supposed to do, you did some exercise. I try not to eat much out of a box. I just eat good quality foods. I run my sales team. We hit our numbers each week. We get our 400 sales calls a week. We get our 5 or 6 letter of intents out a week. We hit our collection numbers where we stay below 5% on delinquency. We do this week in, week out. We are going to be successful. So this consistency, it builds the 3 C's: confidence, competency, conviction. Like, you just radiate that energy. You know what the fuck you're doing, right? Because you've done it so many times, and you show up and you know you have to step up and do it. And this is mastery, right? This is, I think, a worthy pursuit, whatever it is that we commit our life to. I'm not going to be Michael Jordan or Kobe Bryant. I'm not that talented in anything, but I'm Jeremiah. And I know if I show up every single day and do my job because I'm measuring it and I know what needs to be done, I'm going to get the best out of me. One of my favorite quotes from Mike Tyson is, "Love is a command to rise to your highest potential," right? So this is commanding myself, loving myself to rise to my highest potential. And it's not some motivational determination, emotion. It's consistency every single day. And then when it comes back to real estate investing, the beautiful thing is there's no more luck, right? There's no more, he got lucky and found a good deal. Oh, he got lucky and sold that property at a really high price. Oh, they got lucky. They hired this really great talent, or he found this really good opportunity, or this great partner. None of that falls into the equation when you are consistent, you have integrity, you're accountable to what you know you need to do. Then all of a sudden, the good deals do show up. The right opportunities present themselves. The right hires show up. Your business grows. Your relationships get better. Your health gets better. And then in the end, you respect yourself. And because you respect yourself, other people respect you because you got integrity. And that's awesome, man. That's a worthy pursuit for me. So do the things you know you need to do. There's only a handful. If a business plan is bigger than one page, it's too complicated and you're never going to apply it. This goes to investing. And right now, with the market the way it is, it's a grind, right? But that's where the winners win and the competition falls away. I'm seeing more and more private equity firms, investors, they just fall away from storage, or they fall away from mobile home parks because they're just not performing as well as they were, or they're not the sexy asset class that they were, but the fundamentals are there. You know it's going to work. People need good housing. People need spaces to store their stuff. The general economy, the average working class person needs these products. Prices will come down. Deals will show up. All about putting in the reps. There's my rant. Hope you got something out of that. Keep focusing on your niche, finding your edge, and then grind on that edge. And then in the end, there's no need for luck. You're going to make your own breaks. Odds just will stack up for you. You will get the good deals. You'll find the right investments. You'll build the right business, find the right relationship, or improve that relationship, have the right health, because you just show up every single day. Consistency, baby, builds competency, builds character, builds conviction, builds confidence. And those 4 C's, man, that consistency piles up and you respect the hell out of yourself. And that's a pretty good life. And that's awesome. So do your job, show up every single day, handful of things on your business plan, execute or don't execute, but no victims. You take responsibility and then you adapt. That's how we win over the long haul. Let's put it to work, finding your edge. Jeremiah signing off. I'll talk to you soon. Let's go. For more information on commercial real estate investing, go to patriotholdings.com. Thanks for listening to Finding Your Edge.